Make sure you guys give me a follow over on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at @StoneShields_. Trying to get to 500 followers as soon as possible there on that platform. All of our Bengals Breakdown content will be posted to my Twitter page, as well as my own personal thoughts and opinions, and all the injury updates from the beat reporters as well. So help me out. Give me a follow over on Twitter, at @StoneShields_. Welcome into this evening edition of Bengals Breakdown. I am your host, Stone Shields. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us here this evening. On today's show, we're going to spend some time talking about some theoretical, hypothetical replacements for Zac Taylor. If you guys have been watching Bengals Breakdown, you know I want Zac Taylor to be back in 2025, but we are going to be taking a look at some potential replacements if the minuscule chance that the Bengals do move on from Zac Taylor at the end of the year. We're going to throw around some names here on today's show. I know you guys always love throwing those names around in the comment section, so I figured what the heck, we'll make a video on it as well. The Bengals, of course, 4-8 on the season. Certainly not the season that they were anticipating. Super Bowl expectations coming into the season. 4-8 at this point, and yeah, you can pretty much kiss all those hopes and dreams goodbye. The main reason why is because they're 1-7 in one-score games. They're really only a handful of plays of having a solid record, but they haven't made those plays at the end of the game in order to get over the hump, and ultimately at the end of the day, a lot of that does fall on the head coach. Taylor, of course, has a losing record as the Bengals head coach, but a winning postseason record. Taking a look at what he's done here in Cincinnati over these last 6 years. That first year, look, I'm giving them a pass there. I know you guys might not like that, but that's what I'm going to do here. 2-14. Of course, after that season, they picked Joe Burrow first overall, and the rest is kind of history in the sense that they developed into kind of a competent franchise after that point. But that 2019 year, anybody was going 2-14 with that roster that was in place. In 2020, of course, Burrow gets hurt. And that's why you're kind of looking at 4-11-1. I know it sounds like I'm making some excuses there, but that's kind of just reality when you take a look at the first 2 years of Taylor's tenure in Cincinnati. 2021, obviously magical season. You go to the Super Bowl, you follow that up in 2022 with another AFC Championship appearance, and then you have a winning record despite losing Joe Burrow in 2023. Something I don't think Taylor gets enough credit for, but here in 2024, obviously not where you want to be. Taking a look at what is on the horizon here over the next couple of weeks here for Cincinnati, these are the last 5 games of the season. You're going to be favored in probably all of these, maybe not the Pittsburgh game if they need to win and they're not resting starters, but beyond that, I think you're going to be favored in all these games. So there's a chance that you could still somehow have a winning record if you were to, of course, run the table. But I think these next couple of weeks certainly are important for Zac Taylor. Look, I think he could lose all these and still be back, to be completely honest with you. It wouldn't be, exciting. It wouldn't be a good thing to lose all these games. But I think he really needs to send a message to the locker room, prove that he is the right guy, got to win some of these games coming home here. Leads to the pinned comment of today's video. What do you think the % chance the Bengals fire Zac Taylor is? I'm not going to be a goofball and sit up here and say 0, because of course if then it happens, then I just look like, an idiot if that is the case. So I'll say 5%, just a minuscule chance that this actually happens, but I want to know what you guys think. Hop down in the comment section. If that ad comes here on YouTube, that's totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comment section. Let us know what you think. All right, let's start with some internal options here if Taylor were to leave. The first name that comes to mind, of course, is Darrin Simmons. Simmons, of course, has been the special teams coordinator here in Cincinnati since 2003. He is the longest tenured Bengals coach, of course, on their staff. Got a lot of love for Darrin Simmons, got a lot of respect for Darrin Simmons. I think he's done a great job over the years with the special teams unit. I think that's kind of his role right there. I don't really see him as a head coach. There's a reason he stayed in that spot. He hasn't left, hasn't had an opportunity really to, have a head coaching opportunity elsewhere. So I think he's kind of in his role. But obviously, if Taylor were to leave, Darrin Simmons is the name that would get thrown around. Dan Pitcher, another name, Bengals offensive coordinator. This is his first year in the role as quarterback's coach, of course. Last year, I think he's having a solid year offensively. One thing that is a knock on both Pitcher and Taylor is how hard they make things on Joe Burrow. If you need your quarterback to go out there and be Superman week in and week out, That's not a great formula to go out there and have success. I've been very pleased with what Pitcher has done, but I still think he is several years away from getting that head coaching opportunity. Lou Anarumo is a guy that probably last year you'd be saying, of course, Lou Anarumo is a candidate to be a head coach, but this disaster class of a defense, I don't think you can look at Lou Anarumo seriously and say that he is a NFL caliber head coach at this point. Might not be fair because I think a lot of it is personnel problems, but at the end of the day, he's calling the shots. He's the coach. He's in control here, and it hasn't been pretty these past 2 seasons. Had to throw his name in the mix, though, but I certainly don't think that would make any sense to replace Zac Taylor with Lou Anarumo. Last guy, as far as in-house options go, Brad Craigthorpe, who's the Bengals quarterback coach. I've been a big fan of Craigthorpe over the years. He kind of came onto this staff in 2019 with Zac Taylor. Spent some time at LSU where he went to college, and he's done a nice job over the past couple of years. Got promoted to quarterback coach here in 2024. He's a guy that Joe Burrow has a lot of love and respect and trust, and I think Craigthorpe has done a really solid job as the Bengals quarterback coach. But I still think he is a ways away from being a head coach. You, of course, saw Zac Taylor make the jump from QB coach to head coach, but that's kind of rare, and I wouldn't expect Craigthorpe to make that kind of leap at this point. I think he's still several years away from an offensive coordinator opportunity, and then, of course, a head coach after that. But the reality of the situation is none of these guys should be your next head coach. If you're looking to get Zac Taylor out of here, that means you need a completely new style and a completely new regime when it comes to what you're trying to accomplish as a football team. Again, I'm going to say this multiple times here on our show here this evening. I don't think the Bengals should fire Zac Taylor. But if you're going to, promoting someone from within really would make absolutely no sense because I don't think that moves the needle for you whatsoever. We'll continue with some other options here in a moment, some former head coaches, as well as offensive minds and defensive minds. But first, I want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Game Time because today's show is presented by Game Time. Look, Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks is the easiest way to find and buy tickets to live events. Still 2 more home games that you can go get tickets to see: the Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns game, Denver Broncos game. Look, Bengals probably still out of it, but you could have a lot of fun there at Paycor Stadium. Get the jungle, a little bit rowdy and hopefully see a Bengals win, something that we, of course, haven't really seen much at all this year at home. My 2 favorite features on Game Time: the seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy with Game Time. Secondly, the all-in pricing. Toggling this feature up front allows you to see your total up front so you don't get hit with any of those surprise fees at checkout like some of those other ticketing companies can get you with. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, let's get into some former coaches here. Mike Vrabel, first guy that comes to mind. A lot of Ohio ties from Vrabel, right? Was a member of Urban Meyer's staff at one point at Ohio State, played his college ball at Ohio State. He's a guy that's got a lot of respect around the league, has a role with the Cleveland Browns right now. I honestly was surprised that he was not a head coach in this cycle. Thought somebody would hire him. They did not. I would be shocked if Mike Vrabel isn't hired by an NFL team. Certainly would be a good fit, good culture guy, good motivator. I prefer more offensive-minded guys personally when it comes to my head coach, but Mike Vrabel's certainly going to get an opportunity as a head coach again in this league, and I think he will make the most of it. He is a proven winner, no doubt about that. Vrabel's a guy that I think a lot of people would like to see their coach their team. I wouldn't take him over Taylor, but he's certainly a viable option. Pete Carroll. I love Pete Carroll. I got a lot of respect for Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is awesome, but Pete Carroll is also 73 years of age. I don't think coming in here, bringing in a 73-year-old guy, who knows how long he would even be able to do it. He's got like 2 or 3 years in him. I'm looking for some, stability, longevity. I'm not looking to bring in a guy for a couple of years. Love Pete Carroll. I think he kind of got, treated a little unfairly in Seattle. I think he could have, should have been allowed to ride it for another couple of years. Ultimately, they decided to move on. Love Pete Carroll. Probably not a good fit in Cincinnati. Probably just a little bit too old, to be completely honest with you. Robert Saleh. Look, I don't think he got treated the right way in New York. Speaking of not getting treated correctly, Woody Johnson, we all know the Jets owner, just very impulsive, to say the least. He has proven that all throughout his career. Firing Saleh as their scapegoat earlier in the season, that certainly blew up in their face because what have the Jets done since? They just lost a bunch of games. Clearly much bigger problems in New York beyond Robert Saleh. As far as a head coach, I don't know if he'll get another opportunity as a head coach, but he's going to be a really solid defensive coordinator in this league, just like he was in San Francisco. But bringing in Robert Saleh to coach this Bengals team wouldn't do anything for me. He's a no in my book. Last guy here as far as former head coaches go, Bill Belichick, who, of course, former Patriots head coach, won 6 Super Bowls there with New England. This one's interesting. I know I just made the age thing about Pete Carroll. Belichick's only a year younger. I believe Belichick's 72 years old. But Belichick kind of eats, sleeps, breathes football. It kind of feels like he'll be doing this until he is no longer with us. Like, he's probably going to do it until the wheels come off, literally. When you're talking about a guy like Bill Belichick, I think the pairing with Joe Burrow certainly be interesting. It's certainly fun to think about, right? But I don't know. I just feel like he's a little bit archaic in his ways. I think we've seen him kind of change a little bit as he's kind of gotten into his new role, doing a lot of stuff with Omaha Productions, Peyton Manning, and we've kind of seen a different side of Bill Belichick. We'll see if he implements that side when he gets another opportunity as a head coach. It's a fun thing to throw around. If I'm Bill Belichick, heck yeah, I want to coach Joe Burrow. He's looking to catch Tom Brady, get another Super Bowl. Without Tom Brady, of course, and become the all-time wins leader. Certainly could do that with Joe Burrow and company. But, it is kind of fun to, toss that out there. But if I'm Belichick, some team's going to throw him a lot of money, and it's not going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. I can assure you that. If Belichick were to come to Cincinnati, he would be one of the lowest paid coaches in the National Football League. Fun name to throw out, big name to throw out, obviously proven winner, but I'm probably going to stay away from this one as well. Another opportunity for you guys to get involved with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. Do you want to hire Bill Belichick? I've seen this name a lot in the comments section, but let me know. Type Y for yes or N for no. All right, let's get into some offensive minds here. Obviously, the main guy that everybody talks about is Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. Johnson, of course, has passed up head coaching opportunities in the past because he wants the best fit. And when you're the top dog like Johnson is, you have the ability to do that. I don't see Johnson passing up on this job here in Cincinnati. I kind of think it's kind of a lateral move for Cincinnati. I know people would say, oh, how dare you compare Zac Taylor to Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson knows way more about offense and yada, yada, yada. Maybe, fair, but it's a young guy, offensive guy. I don't think you're really getting too significant of an upgrade. Ben Johnson, one of the best offensive coordinators in the National Football League, only a matter of time before he gets a head coaching job. Cliff Kingsbury, next guy on this list. Look, this is a no for me. I like Cliff. Cliff's kind of a cool guy. But, look, we've seen him be a head coach in the past, and he's not really a winner as a head coach. Wasn't able to get things done in Arizona at the collegiate level at Texas Tech. Really wasn't able to get anything done either. A lot of times we see his team start out really hot, and they kind of fade down the stretch, and that's not what we're looking for, obviously, here in Cincinnati. I think Cliff Kingsbury can be a really good play caller, but as far as bringing him in to be the head coach, that's a no for me as well. Lincoln Riley, next guy on this list. Of course, the talk of Lincoln Riley has kind of died down recently because of how bad this USC team has played these past couple of years since he has taken over. I think, when he was at Oklahoma, people felt like it was only a matter of time before he got a crack at the NFL. But really no reason to hire Lincoln Riley at this point, given the struggles he is having at the collegiate level. I like Lincoln Riley. I know some people don't like Lincoln Riley. Maybe if he gets things together at USC, he could potentially be an NFL coach down the road. But bringing in Lincoln Riley would make no sense for Cincinnati. Liam Cohen next up on this list, another young, bright offensive coordinator. Again, just kind of feels like a lateral move for me if Cincinnati were to bring in a guy like Cohen. He's doing some great things with Baker Mayfield down in Tampa. But I think Zac Taylor is capable of doing everything that Liam Cohen is doing as well. This last one, though, is interesting. I know everybody loves throwing this one around. Joe Brady. If you haven't heard of Joe Brady, of course, was the passing game coordinator at LSU in 2019. So, of course, he worked very closely with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and was a big reason, bigger probably than Coach O, bigger reason for their success in 2019. Of course, perfect season, national title, Heisman Trophy for Joe Burrow. Brady's done a really nice job in Buffalo as the quarterback coach before getting promoted to OC. I think he's kind of tapped into a whole different level of Josh Allen. Josh Allen's making some really good decisions with the football, playing a lot better than he was when Ken Dorsey was the offensive coordinator. Brady struggled his time as the OC in Carolina, but who doesn't struggle in Carolina? At some point, Joe Brady is going to get an opportunity to be an NFL head coach, and it's fun to fantasize him potentially reuniting with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. He's probably my favorite name on this list out of everybody, but again, I'm not firing Zac Taylor. I'm keeping him for sure in 2025, giving him another crack at this thing with this Bengals football team. Make sure you guys hit that sub button if you haven't done so already. If the Bengals make any coaching changes, we will have a video for you guys here at the channel. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV. 3 defensive guys before we get out of here on today's show. Brian Flores, Vikings defensive coordinator, of course, was the coach of the Miami Dolphins, and that kind of was a dumpster fire. He's trying to recreate his image, right? Try to seem like a nicer guy. All the bad things you heard about Tua Tagovailoa saying about Brian Flores really kind of painted Brian Flores in a bad light. I think it's probably true, though, to be honest with you. I think Brian Flores does some great things defensively, some crazy things defensively. But again, not getting rid of Zac Taylor for that game. Jesse Minter is an interesting option. Minter, of course, really on the rise, young, bright guy, just in his 30s, not very old whatsoever here as I take a look at his age here. Actually, excuse me, he's 41 years old, but still very, very young. He actually went to Mount St. Joseph here, not too far from our Chat Sports offices here, downtown Cincinnati. Look, he's got ties to the state of Ohio, was a grad assistant at UC for a couple of years as well, and, was with Baltimore for a long time with the Ravens. Of course, won a national title with Michigan last year with the other Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh. I think Minter's going to get a crack at this thing at some point in the near future, but I personally am more of an offensive-minded head coach type of guy, and Minter, of course, is a defensive guy. Certainly would clean up the Bengals' defense, no doubts about that. Minter's an interesting guy to keep an eye on, but again, feels kind of like a lateral move from Zac Taylor. Last guy here, Aaron Glenn, doing great things as the Lions defensive coordinator. Those 2 coordinators, Johnson and Glenn, are probably the 2 most sought-after coordinators as far as head coaching opportunities go. Aaron Glenn seems like he's a really good leader of men, knows what he's doing, leading that Lions defense. But again, feel like for me, I'm not going to go out and hire a defensive-minded head coach. Bill Belichick, of course, is one that you say, maybe we would kind of think about doing that. But any of these guys on this list, I am not making that decision, personally. Before we get out of here, last chance to get interactive with our show. What type of coach do you want? Offensive or defensive? This is totally an O for me. I think just kind of where this game is right now as far as how the game is played at the professional level. You are best suited if you have an offensive-minded head coach. This is an O for me, but hop down in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Type O for offense or D for defense.